Welcome everyone to the top 10 list building mistakes. And just as a little introduction, what in the world is list building? So in my world of internet marketing, I would tell you that the number one thing that you need to have is a website. We've heard that for 20 years at least now. It is still true. It is the piece of real estate that you own. But you know, if somebody called your office, would you not ask who they are, how they happen to find you, have some way to get back in touch with them? Of course you would. So it amazes me how many folks are not giving the opportunity for people who have found you on the internet to be able to kind of come into your tribe, come into your sphere of influence and learn more and more about you. So the way we do that is by a variety of different list building techniques. And you've seen the little opt-in forms on websites. The opt-in forms will typically receive the information and put it into a database. We use a variety of different tools that you can use online. You've probably heard of Constant Contact and so forth. There's hundreds of these programs. Each of them have different specialties and unique attributes that can help you. So in the process of doing list building, we make some mistakes, and so we're going to just kind of talk through some of that, because it's really important that you build your list of email addresses so that you have the opportunity to send invitations out. The vast majority of you on this call heard about it because you are on my list. I emailed you. Now, in addition to that, I did use social media and some other tools, but I recognize most of the names and people on this call. You got here by list building. So one of the big mistakes in this process is that we have a lot of assumptions. We all think we know. We think we know our own product. We think we know what the customer wants. We think we know what we want to say. And so we just put one option out there and it either makes or breaks. And that's really not a good idea, because you have different people within your list and they respond differently. And then also you have the assumption that you think you know what's important, or a color, or a button, or a headline, or something else that might work better. And if you haven't tested it, then you'll never know. So you should always split test. You might hear it as A/B testing. And the idea is that you try a couple of different things. So you might have a design and you try two different colors, or you might try two different headlines, or two different offers. Do I want something free, or do I want a phone call? Do I want the top 10 something, or do I want an ebook, and so forth? So you want to do that testing so that you can find out which offer is providing the most response, and then of course whatever is going the best, you want to do more of the best and less of what's not working. So it is really even small details that can be tested. It can be a different URL. So, you know, sometimes you can buy a specific URL. Working with somebody now on leaky gut, and although all the material is on his website, he bought a domain that just points to the leaky gut information, and that is what he's using in his marketing efforts. Again, it could be whether or not somebody is getting the free package or they're getting a book. Different fonts, different colors, different headlines, so you know, different offers. Do they respond better if you have a video of you doing a little introduction, or do they respond less likely because you did a video. I mean, all of these things can be tested, and then it refines your whole process so that you're doing the best of the best of the best of what is available to you. So it's really important that you even go with some of the little details. What seems to be becoming more and more of a standard operating is the double opt-in. And really the double opt-in only benefits, well, not only, but primarily benefits the service you are using. And so a double opt-in, to be clear, is when they ask you for your email address, and so I put in it's Joanne and here's my email address, and I hit submit. Then I get an email that says, will you verify this? And that is requiring me to hit it again to double opt in. I opted in on the website. They send me an email. No, really, do you want to opt in? Yes, I really do. So although that clarifies for sure I gave you a good email address and so forth, it also hinders a lot of people from moving forward. And so if your goal right now is to just build your list, then you want to have as few hurdles as possible, as few things that people will negatively respond to as possible. So I recommend for this purpose that you're not doing the double opt-in. It has been shown that you can lose as much as 10% up to even 60% of your audience with a double opt-in. So maybe the argument is that you have a cleaner list, but if you lose 50% of the potential, even if 40% of them were good and 60% were bad, you still lost that amount of people. So I would stay with not doing a double opt-in. And some of the email services that you use will require you to do the double opt-in, but if you do find the opportunity to turn it off, I would recommend you turn it off. So again, kind of going back to what we said at the very beginning, where we have assumptions. Sometimes we have assumptions that people know what we're talking about. I worked last night with a photographer, and on the website it was seniors, family, art. Well, senior what? Well, family what? Well, art what? We assume that people know what we're talking about because I'm the photographer, and of course I'm talking about a senior portrait. But on the internet, with the volume of people who could find you, the world essentially, and also even for Google to find you, you need to not be making the assumptions that people know what you're talking about. In this case, you need to have a really strong hook, but you don't want to over promise and under deliver. So you don't want to, say that you're going to help them, lose weight in 4 weeks, and then your process really doesn't do that. So you're much better off. You want to offer something really hot that, is going to entice people to come and sign up on your list, but it also needs to be realistic, and you need to be able to deliver on it. In fact, you want to be able to over deliver. So, but make sure you have a strong hook. Pull them in. What is the benefit for me to be on your list? And for heaven's sakes, don't say, hey, join my list. I don't care about joining your list. I care about something for me. What is the benefit I'm going to have by getting on your list? Am I getting something right now, which is typical? Is there this top 10 list something or other? Is there an ebook you're going to send me? What are you going to send me tips for the next 20 days? Whatever it is, then you want to make sure that you deliver on that. And then, as I mentioned, oh my goodness, how terrible it would be. You make this big, strong hook, but then you don't deliver. So you really want to make sure that you've got the strong hook, but that you're going to over-deliver on what you're promising. Make sure that the report that you give is going to be a really strong report, has really valuable content in it. This is another area that can really hinder your process of building your list, and that is if you have a service that is a really slow responder. If I'm on the computer right now and I have found the answer to my weight loss issues, and you're going to tell me what that is, you better send it to me immediately. So the autoresponder is something that as soon as I submit, your service will automatically respond to that and send me something. It could be the email with a link to something. It could be an email with an attachment, but it's an automatic response. And if that response is so slow that the person doesn't get it for 2 or 3 or 4 hours, their excitement about it has long gone. So you really want to make sure that you're using a service that that is robust enough to send your responses out quickly. And there are also the opportunity to send out a series of auto responses. So they might get one immediately after they submit. They might get another one in a couple of days, every day for the next 3 days, and then a week later or whatever. Every service doesn't offer it, so that's part of the research that you need. You need to understand what it is you want to do, how you're going to market yourself, and what kind of auto response you need. And then we need to find the right tool that will do what it is you want it to do. You want to make sure that there's several ways to be able to opt in. Something that has become very popular is as soon as I get on a website, there's a pop-up. It gives me the opportunity to opt in and get some report. But the disadvantage of that is, well, there's several disadvantages. One is we're so accustomed to having a lot of advertising pop-ups, it's almost a natural reflex for many of us to click and dismiss that. They didn't even read it. You might even have a pop-up blocker, so it never even pops up. Or I've just gotten there, I might be interested, but I haven't even gotten to know you yet, and you immediately ask me for something, and I'm not comfortable just yet doing it. So then I close it to get it out of the way. Well, what if that is the only way that you had ever presented the opportunity to subscribe and I just dismissed it? So I'm not saying don't use the pop-up, but I certainly am saying that you should also have an opt-in form on your website so that there are multiple ways for them to opt in, and you want it to be throughout your website, not just on a home page and whatnot. You also don't want to work with only one source. So I know several of you on the call are kind of beginners at some of this, and so you're primarily using your website or a speaking engagement or something like that. But if you are really wanting to build your list so that you broaden your audience and you also increase your odds of getting sales and people to engage with your services, then you might want to look at joint ventures. Maybe there is someone else who already has a list of the same kinds of people that you want, but you don't compete with them. And so then they choose to, you do some joint ventures and you both benefit from each other's audience. Or you might do more or stronger work within SEO to make sure that you are being found. And you might want to do pay-per-click. That's what the PPC is, pay-per-click. And that can be Google advertising and Facebook advertising and so forth. And then banner advertising is a whole nother feature in Google that helps you get your advertising out and so forth. If you ever want to talk about any of those things, we can. I don't want to go into depth here. But the primary thing I want you to take away from this is that you need multiple sources coming into this so that you're not only using just your website or just that landing page, that sales page, and so forth. So I just used the term landing page, sales page. Here it's squeeze page. It's all the same thing. It is a page that is only one topic. So you're cutting out the noise of all the other things that you may have to offer. So let's talk about, we'll use the photographer. So, you know, she does senior portrait. She also does family portrait. She could do a whole bunch of other things too. But don't you get overwhelmed if you got too much information coming at you. So the squeeze page needs to be one thing. And the only thing that you want them to do is to opt in. You want to get their email address. So you want it to be compelling and only trying to accomplish one thing out of it, getting their address. And then you could have different kinds of offers and so forth. But you can buy just some stock squeeze page designs and so forth, but you really need to make sure that it's customized, retrofitted to you. They may have a headline on there, but you need to have your own headline. You need to really make it yours. So the caution here is using some stock images, stock pages. You want to make sure that it's customized so that it really represents you and your brand. And then the 10th of the 10 mistakes, the most mistakes people make when building their list, is that they get so eager, they just want to go buy a bunch of names. And that can be really difficult to work with, because you could buy a whole bunch of names and have to pay to be emailing them, and they weren't at all interested. Not only were they not interested and they don't respond to any offers that you ever have, they may actually even ding you as spam because they didn't have the opportunity to opt in. It wasn't their choice. You just went and bought the list and started sending them information. And in this day and age of marketing, we use what's called a pull mentality. We are pulling people into our sphere of influence so that we can market to them and communicate with them. We pull them into our list. We pull them into our social media pages and so forth. But the individuals have the opportunity to opt in. And by buying a list and then just immediately starting to promote to them, you're kind of breaking the big rule of our current way of marketing. So I really caution you about buying a list. I've seen a lot of promotional things too, especially like big radio stations and so forth will say, well, we can increase your fan base on your fan page, you know, by thousands. Well, they do that by giving away a TV. Well, heck yeah, I'll go and click like and get on a list to win a TV, but it doesn't mean that I'm ever going to come to your store and buy your pizza. It just means I wanted the TV. So wouldn't it be a whole lot better for you to have a list of even 100 or 200 people that you know were really sold out for you and your products and services and were responsive, versus having 2,000, 3,000 that really didn't care about you, but you got to say you had a list of 3,000. So I'd be really cautious about buying subscriber lists. So there is a lot to building a list. I mean, you need to have an offer, you need to have email addresses, you need to have the opt-in form put on your website, you need to have the squeeze page or the sales page if it's a unique offer for one particular thing. There can be lots of moving parts to this. And certainly there are all kinds of resources. You can learn to do this yourself. I totally agree. You can put your questions out on my Facebook page. I'm happy to answer any of that and help you move along the path of do it for yourself. But if you'd like to have some help getting the thing set up and running and then manage it, I do have an offer for $4.99 to help you set up the whole mailing list and the opt-in form and getting all this follow-up emails and everything all into a system. If at this point